It's Sunday. Welcome back to the red, white and blue football therapy session. I hope your team's won this weekend. Mine doesn't play until tomorrow. But with me tonight, I've got Stephen. Hi, Stephen.
All right, John.
How are we doing?
Yeah, good. Especially after that day from Liverpool, I'm happy.
Yeah, no, good. No, they did really well. I've got to say, I wasn't expecting much from them at Leeds. I'm waiting for Leeds to wake up, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But Liverpool didn't give them a chance. No, it's good. We'll come back to that later in the show. But
yeah.
I would also say we've no Charlie tonight.
No Charlie, no.
No Charlie. So Charlie's away on some extravaganza or another in America. So we're leaving two. So you're stuck with the two of us.
Yep.
And
shame it's our debut on our new show. It's a debut on our new channel.
Yeah.
You can't join us. It's a shame.
I know. And the thing is trying to get people to actually, if you pick this up and you actually subscribe, because that's the only way you can be able to find us on YouTube. And we're not. One of the things we are aware of is that it'll take a bit of time. So join in the chat. Join us in the chat if you want to say something. Get it off your chest. It is football therapy on a Sunday night.
Definitely.
And it doesn't matter what level that you watch the game. Do join us. It's not just about Premier League. I was at Sunny Scarborough yesterday. Watching. Yeah, and I haven't seen the worst officiating performance so far this season.
Right.
But hey, it was really good because the linesman heard every single word that I actually was able to share with him, and I'm sure his mate over the other side did as well. So it made me feel a hell of a lot better because Scarborough were woeful.
Right.
But hey, that's a whole different issue altogether.
What was the score?
4-2. But I took my eldest lad to work. He was going to have to walk to work, and I decided, I'll give you a lift, son. And we left 5 minutes before the end, and we missed the second Scarborough goal.
Never mind.
Which is probably just as well. I never leave. And I'm one of these people that never leaves early from the football.
Yeah,
I can't abide it because you always miss something. And
miss something, yeah.
Yeah, you do. But goes to show me. That's it.
Hello.
So there we go. We've got someone in the chat like it already. There we go.
Right. So let's start off with United then, John. And let's get
I think you need to get the United bit out of the way, don't you? Because actually,
because I can't insult them because they have started the season really well, and in particular Ronaldo. I was impressed with Ronaldo yesterday. He's 36, and you're going, is he going to be able to cope? Is he not going to be able to cope? Well, you question that, man. You know what I mean? You haven't got a clue what you're talking about. So he proved to me that I didn't have a clue what I was talking about because, to be honest, I didn't know whether he'd be able to cope with it or not. But to come in and score 2 goals on your first return back into the Premier League, brilliant. He just oozes that class, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? He has got that class about him. Like,
it was one of those things that it was like for it was written. You knew that he was going to turn up. I think probably most United fans who were there probably turned around and thought, he never got a hat trick. I'm quite disappointed.
Yeah,
and it was one of them days. But I'm with you. I was skeptical about Ronaldo coming back. I wondered how he'd fit in. I wondered how United would allow their system of play to actually for him to get involved in it. And the way they played yesterday, he just offers he's like just a completely different figurehead. And I think it was Paul Merson who's been lambasted on the socials so far this week because he was trying to make out that why do United need a player like this? But you can see what it's done to all those younger players at United. They're now playing 20% better because they want to be on the pitch with Ronaldo. To see Lingard come off the bench and to just score the final goal, I think for Lingard was such an important one.
Yeah.
But for United, they've got just something amongst that group of players And I think the only thing I would say is they'd probably be quite disappointed they actually conceded a goal.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Yeah,
but like I'm with you. He just needs to be there, and he'll inspire everyone around him to up their game. Like say Jesse Lingard, who hasn't been there. He was out on loan last season at West Ham United. He was that far away from the team. He's come into the team and scored yesterday. But what I got from a Liverpool fan point of view, what scared me the most yesterday was the way Fernandes and Ronaldo just looked like they're going to destroy teams in front of them. The two of them.
Do you think? I actually felt that Ronaldo would probably be a negative for Fernandes because having watched them in the Euros, they just seem to just jar off one another. And having seen them yesterday, I just thought, no, I'm seeing something completely different. And that Portuguese team performance is not what United have put out on the pitch yesterday. And I think the goal that Fernandes scored was just sublime. It really was.
Top draw.
Yeah.
Nick's in. Hello, Nick.
Hiya, Nick. Thanks for joining us, mate. We'll get to Spurs. He missed us the weeks that we were giving Spurs all the plaudits and all of the pat on the back.
Yeah.
And he was sending us messages saying, false dawn.
Yeah, but Johnny's joined us tonight because
he wants a rant.
He needs some rant. Go on, Nick. Let us know your thoughts, man.
He does.
We remember of our predictions, John. I'm the only one who's got Tottenham in the top four.
Yeah,
and United out the top four to put Tottenham in there. Now, performances yesterday of both.
It's a long. Don't worry, Steve. It's a long season.
I'm still respect to my guns, and I think that was just a blip yesterday. I do. I think Tottenham will get the top four this year.
Yeah, in a way, I'd like to think that they could, but they actually looked so short yesterday from where, and it can't just be a Son thing. You know, they were missing Son, but they just looked completely bereft of ideas. And I just felt, hang on a minute, this is actually a side that, like 2 games ago, were looking as if they had a bit of potential. Yeah. And let's not forget, they're only a point behind, you know, the 3 teams at the top of the league, which could be 4 teams tomorrow night if Everton win. Just saying, like
it could be. To be honest with you, it's only 4 games in, right?
Yeah,
I'm not up on who United have actually played up to now. I know they give Newcastle a bit of a hammering yesterday, and they give Leeds a bit of a hammering. 5-0 for Leeds against Leeds. But
they beat Wolves away.
Yeah,
they drew away at Southampton. They beat Leeds 5-1.
So they haven't really played anyone that you'd say is in and around it.
No, and I think that'll be interesting because I think their next, if I remember, their next fixture is away at West Ham, and then the home to Villa. But in between times, they're now picking up on Champions League stuff as well. So, you know, we're going to see how deep this squad can actually go.
Yeah. For
United, and actually, I don't know. It could be one of those false dawns, and it's strange because every single time after they drew away at Southampton, the Ollie out brigade on Twitter was trending as always. You know,
as soon as it comes to full time, that was it. It was one of the number one trends on Twitter. Ollie out, and then all of a sudden they've gone and signed Ronaldo, and they've just beat Newcastle. What was it, 4-1 yesterday? And he's probably the best manager in the league now. You know, how fickle. That's just how fickle football fans are. We're all the same.
Too right.
You know,
too right. I just before we move on to another game, I'd just like to say, you know, I think Steve Bruce just went to see Ronaldo yesterday.
He must have done because they were awful.
Because they were poor, but his actual team selection was poor. You know, the way they actually set up as a team, it looked as if he was playing like a back 6 at the very least. And I just, they had no midfield. If you get if you're going to play no midfield, you've got Pogba and Fernandes, who are just going to really run rings around you. I don't quite know where he's at. I like the guy Woodman that they've got in goal, but he's too young. They've got other players at the club who could actually step up and play in goal, give you defence just a little bit of confidence. Woodman is too young for my liking, and you could tell he made a mistake for the second goal, but Bruce again threw him under the bus. Just said, "Oh, it was his fault." Well, sorry, but it's Steve Bruce's fault for picking him in the first place.
Yeah,
it does me. I know I've said it before. I do not like Steve Bruce. I do not like what's happening at Newcastle Football Club. I care quite dearly because it's quite close to where I'm at. I'm not a Newcastle fan, but you can see a club being dismantled just completely from the interior, and it's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. And I was interested. I watched some of Shearer's comments last night, and he just basically he went through the same conversation. We're saying the same thing week after week, year after year. And I think if I was a Newcastle fan, I would be frustrated so much. I really would.
You see, I'm with you there on that. Right? I'm not a Newcastle fan. I'm not close to Newcastle. But one thing I do recognise with Newcastle is the fans are so passionate about the team. And I'm passionate about my own team as well, as you are, John. So to go through that sort of thing, to see other football fans having to go through what they're going through, it's just not right. It's not fair. It's from the top down that they need to look at. They're just not managing that club properly.
Yeah.
I don't know. They tried to get Mike Ashley out. I think they had a buyer, didn't they? But he failed the test, did he not? Or something.
Yeah, and they're still trying to appeal that to the FA and stuff.
So but
it's all political. It's all cloak and dagger stuff with people from, I think it's Saudi Arabia. And I think it possibly comes back to, I think something I have said previously is you need to be careful what you wish for, because if you don't know where that money's coming from, there are cases of clubs, not just in the UK, but certainly throughout Europe, who've been taken over by the promise of sort of rich princes turning up, and actually they turn up and they've got nothing at all, and they're just looking at making money out of it. So,
to be honest with you, John, and I'll throw the flip side to that argument of why that test is actually there. It's there because of that, what you've just said. Clubs were bought out, and they were nearly ruined. You look at Liverpool Football Club, we were gone. If it wasn't, if the FSG hadn't won that court case, there would be no Liverpool Football Club now. They'd be gone.
Spot on.
That's why that test is there, is to stop that sort of thing going on.
And again, I'll put this into the mix as well, because a lot of people, if you're looking at English football as a whole, Bury went under a couple of years ago and ended up just an owner that just totally annihilated the club. Bolton, Wigan have been lucky not to be demoted, and there's others. There's another one down south, and I can't remember its name, but this is an ongoing theme, and the fair play and the actual fit and proper person stuff doesn't seem to apply the lower down the leagues you get. So I think Newcastle themselves can count themselves possibly a little lucky at the minute. It's the fact that at the Premier League level, at least somebody's looking a little bit more carefully at some of these people who are looking at buying clubs. Yeah,
I think you're right. They are a bit lucky. They won't feel like they're lucky at the minute.
No.
They're stuck with an owner that they don't want. And quite frankly, I can understand why they don't want him. He's not investing in the team properly. He's not getting the right managers in. For me, Steve Bruce is not the right fit for Newcastle Football Club. He just isn't. And I'll be honest with you, I can't see any other team in the league who's going to get the Fat Sam Award in the near future.
Neither can I.
I think it's saved them from the relegation, because they are in trouble. They're in massive trouble. They're in the relegation zones now. And Burnley, you just mentioned they're in trouble as well. They've got you guys tomorrow night, but I don't see anything other than an Everton win there. So they're in trouble early on as well.
I'm not sure there, Stephen. I'm again glass half empty Evertonian time. Yeah. Burnley are the type of team that can rock up at Goodison, and they can actually, because they've got two big lads up front, they can cause Everton a bit of trouble. I still think that I still think there's other teams that are worse than Burnley, but I still, I'm with you. Newcastle just look appalling, and I feel sorry. As much as I feel sorry, you've got to do something, and that would start for me with getting rid of the manager and then getting rid of the board. And I think Newcastle fans are savvy enough now that if they're attending St James's Park, because I can't bring myself to call it whatever the Mike Ashley's company's
it's St James
renamed it. It's still St James's Park. That man does not belong anywhere near the city of Newcastle, and I think I would personally hope that Newcastle fans actually take it into their own hands and actually make that protest. And I think that's what we're going to begin to see as well. And I think as well, I'm going to move us on very quickly because I'm looking.
I just want to go back to Nick's comment there. He says to go to Spurs, and we'll get to them in a minute, Nick, so you can have your rant. In a 12-year-old could manage United and get results, so Ole is doing nothing special. And Nick, that is exactly why I've got Spurs in the top 4 of my prediction. It's simply because of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He is not the manager people think he is. He's getting some good results at the minute, and that is simply because he has got a good team. So the people who are deciding who to bring in and what players to bring in are doing a good job. It's probably complimenting him, and we can just go straight back to the game that they drew away to Southampton. United, who are sitting at the top of the table along with Chelsea and Liverpool at the minute, they shouldn't be going to Southampton and drawing. They should be going there and beating them. That's what they should be doing. And it's going to be the inconsistency from Ole's team that's going to be the doing.
That's yeah. I was going to say as well. Let's keep Nick waiting a bit because I'm going to talk. I want to talk Arsenal for a minute. Because that might, but that might actually cheer Nick up a bit as well because for all the celebration after Arsenal won yesterday, right? It was 1-0.
Yeah,
1-0. They were playing Norwich, and you would have thought that they'd won the FA Cup again or something like that. It just looked. Do you know when you're just thinking, hang on a minute, get a grip of where you're at. You got 3 points. Yeah, no, the pressure's been on, but like a little bit of reality. Still don't. I'd love to go and see exactly what's going on at Arsenal. It just seems completely ramshackle, and strangely enough, they changed their goalkeeper yesterday as well. So, our good friend Ramsdale, who previously has been relegated in the past 2 seasons with AFC Bournemouth and was last season relegated as well, is now at Arsenal and he's now got the number 1 shirt. And I quite don't know where that goes because they dropped Leno. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, to celebrate a 1-0 win against Norwich is not. I can understand why they are because they're in such a bad run of form, setting from the back seasons now. And they couldn't buy a win, so I can understand why they're celebrating because they're probably a little bit more relief. It's probably more relief than the fact that they've gone and beat Norwich 1-0. But Norwich are sat at the foot of the table, so I wouldn't get overly excited by that result.
No, and I think for them. They've got Burnley next weekend, which always a good one. But then the weekend after, they've got Tottenham Hotspur coming to visit as well. So I think we might get to see exactly where Arsenal are at by the end of September and exactly where Arteta is at. Well, certainly by the October international break, I think as well.
I think between Arteta and Steve Bruce, I think they're hot favourites and the first managers to get sacked, I think.
Yeah. I can't disagree, and I actually can't see beyond Steve Bruce, but that's just me hatred of Steve Bruce coming through.
You see, the reason I don't have Steve Bruce up there is because of Mike Ashley. I just don't see him doing it. I can see him just do it just to wind the Newcastle fans up and just keep him in there. Like he's that cynical, whereas Arsenal boards will be a bit more ruthless. They'll go, right, Arteta, you've had a few transfer windows now. Yeah. You're not really doing it anymore.
I think as well with Steve Bruce as well, and there needs to be an acknowledgement that Newcastle haven't got the money to sack him. So if they do sack him, that's going to have implications as to the playing budget for the January transfer market. And Ashley's not putting any more money into that football club.
No.
You know, so
no, he's not.
It's
no,
not
it is.
not good.
That's why I can't see Sam being the favourite. But I can see Arteta being the favourite if this doesn't start turning into a run of winning games. He's got to go on a run of winning games. And if he's got a visit of Tottenham Hotspur coming up, I don't fancy his chances.
Neither do I.
I'll give him half a chance against Burnley, but against Tottenham, I'll give him no chance. I think Tottenham are just too strong for them. Too strong for them.
I think so. I think once he gets Son back as well. Let's deal with Nick. Come on, Nick. Right. Tell us what went wrong for Spurs yesterday, and don't just say everything. You know, I think the sending off, I think, was quite justified. Lad was a bit stupid. But one of the other things I would say, and this is me sort of eating humble pie as well, because I really thought Palace would struggle. But actually, Palace actually played really well. And I was actually quite taken on the fact that they bought the lad, was it Edouard from Celtic, and a lot of Celtic fans for the past 18 months to 2 years have given him absolute pelters because he looks as if he's not interested. And yet he comes on for the last 10 minutes against Spurs, scores twice, and that's it. He's just like local hero time.
I think you're fine. That's all. You know what I mean? I don't know why he wasn't signed up at Celtic, but I didn't see the game yesterday with Tottenham.
It was interesting because there was, for me, I think they drew the short straw because the 12:30 kickoff after an international break, I think is always one which it goes against sort of the run of things. You come back early, you're playing early. You've not really had time as a group to come back. So I'd thought of that as a game that possibly could have been tricky. And plus the fact, you've got to remember, Vieira's a former Arsenal player.
He is, yeah.
And so I think in one little interview, and I'm not sure it was on the radio, just straight after the game, he just turned around and said, "It's Tottenham. I don't lose against Tottenham." I don't know, well, fair play to you, mate. He's still showing his Arsenal colours, isn't he? Like, you know.
See, Crystal Palace have always been one of them teams. I know under Roy Hodgson they definitely were. They're always a potential banana skin. You know, they're always a team that can beat any team on their day. Yeah. Doesn't matter how good they are. You go to Selhurst Park and you could get beat. But 3-0, I wasn't expecting 3-0. I was expecting Tottenham to have a tougher game. Of all the 4 games, I thought that would be probably the toughest one they've got. But to lose 3-0, I was shocked by that. I was shocked by it. When I seen the score come through, I was like, well, that just that goes against what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe 2-1 scratch, scratch a 2-1 win or something like that. But to not even get on the score sheet surprised me.
Yeah. I think as well, I think Nick goes back to this, there's some of the players there that are getting the game at the minute, there's the likes of Skip, Winks, Dyer, and especially Tanganga, who I think Nick last season had spoken to us about. They just don't have that forward sort of ability. And Nick said in the chat there he's not sure about the red.
Yeah,
but it just added to the whole thing. I think he deserved to go at the end of it. It was stupid, and it's one of them ones. But I twist it around is the fact that you've got Dele Alli, you've got Harry Kane up front, and from most of what I saw, they were marked out of the game by a Palace defence that are still trying to get used to playing with each other, and it's strange because I was critical over the summer because I thought Palace had got rid of all the experienced players that they had and they would be left short, but they looked all right yesterday. And the lad Gallagher, and I can't remember his first name, he's number 23. He looked absolutely spot on, and I like that. Nick
Dyer to go.
I made the mistake of putting Dyer in my fantasy team this year, and he's going. Definitely. The fantasy points had dried up this week, and I think he's the one for the chop.
That's almost going on to the fantasy league. I'm sat at the bottom of the table, and I'd never done any adjustments from last week. So I had Antonio as my captain last week because I thought,
I bought him in. Bought him in, and the guy gets sent off. Marvelous.
He gets sent off. He's my captain. It cost me a point.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Remember, just update your fantasy league every week. You know what I mean?
Having said that, you should just do what Charlie does. Just leave it be. Just stick all your best players there. Ignore it. You know, it's a funny one, but there we go.
That's it.
Sideways Winks. I think that's exactly it, Nick. And I think that's when Son's not in the team, you need somebody actually providing those attacking players with the ball far more quickly and with far more penetration, because actually what they were doing is they were making the Palace back four look good.
Yeah.
You know, and you shouldn't be. It's Palace. You know, I think they probably would have written that off yesterday. But they're sitting there, they've got 5 points after 4 games. They'd be quite happy. They've got more points than Villa, Wolves, and Southampton, and Watford, and Arsenal. But then, hey, there was a really good one as well. Cristiano Ronaldo has scored more goals in the Premier League than Arsenal have scored all season, and he's only played a game. So it's just like there's little nuggets like that in it.
Where are Arsenal going to? I know we already just discussed it, but where are they heading here? Where are they going?
I don't know.
That's lost. They're lost.
Yeah.
They had Wenger, and it went a bit sour towards the end of Wenger's reign, and it's just not done anything with it since. Yeah. I worry for that club, I really do. Yeah. I'm going to go back to Nick's comment there, sideways Winks, and to be honest with you, we've had a few players like that at Liverpool. You know, in the past, they'll just pass it sideways. It's absolutely infuriating, especially when your midfielder is doing the sideways pass or worse, backwards. You know, you're supposed to be a link between the defence, the midfield, and the attack. You're supposed to be looking for a pass to go forward, or at least have someone who's defensive and the other one is attacking. You know, but even if your defensive player is there, I wouldn't expect them to do sideways. I'd expect the odd back past the defenders, but they should be looking at clearing the lines and getting away from their defenders, you know, and protecting them.
I think that the issue there, Stephen, is that once you're going sideways, the team loses that whole momentum, and the opposition then think, well, hang on a minute, we're going to find a little bit of space in all of this, so let's push, let's sort of play that let's press on that midfield rather than playing sort of a little bit deeper. So you're actually making your forwards completely redundant. Yeah.
So you're encouraging your opposition to push their back four up towards the centre circle. Right? So they start getting a higher line up there because they know you're not going to pass in behind because your player just hits it backwards or sideways.
Yeah.
Then you're pushing. What happens then is that your midfield then gets pushed back into like between the box and the circle. So they're sat in a deep, so they start going deep, and it just causes all kinds of problems.
Yeah,
you know, so it is infuriating, and particularly with the way Nuno likes to get his teams to play. You know, that won't work. He won't put up with that for long. If you look at the way Wolves played, you know, when he first come up with them, when he had like Jota there as well and stuff like that, they were electric going forward. You know, that's what he's looking for, and I think. Give it time, give a few windows, and I think that's where you'll see Spurs at. You'll see Spurs, you know, not doing that sort of thing. I think he'll weed that out. I think he'll lose Winks. I think he'll get rid of Winks because if all he's doing is passing sideways, then he'll be a gunner. He won't last, you know.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what Wolves fans think because actually at Wolves, he had a half decent team there. I know Jimenez is in that position where I still don't think he's the player he was before his head injury. But they've actually found this guy. This guy was it Hwang Hee Chan? Is it? I'm trying to think of his. Was that just my? Hwang Hee Chan. And actually, he actually looks half decent, and I give them the due because they're trying to rejuvenate themselves. You look at Southampton, who are trying to rejuvenate themselves. You look at Brentford, and they're all in that little spot in the centre of the table. And do you know something? Southampton looked well worth a point against West Ham yesterday. They look better organised than they've been for a while. Brentford were really unlucky.
Last minute goal.
I'll say it now. They're like Brighton are just sort of sticking the two fingers. They're just sticking the two fingers up at the lot of us, aren't they? Apart from me, because I didn't have them to get relegated. I'll have it noted.
I got them to be relegated. That's at one point off the top of the table. That was the last kick of the game, Verty, when they scored.
Yeah, it was. It was, and I've got to say, I was quite disappointed because about 20 minutes before the end, in the commentary, I think the commentator just came out with a line. It's just I'm thinking, hang on, that must be like 5 minutes before the end of the game, and it wasn't. It was like 75 minutes, something like that. And he says, "Oh, it'd be a shame for either team to lose this." And then lo and behold, we went right to the very death of the game. And Brentford again just looked really difficult to beat.
Yeah,
Brighton, I actually feel they're onto something. You know, I know we've had a laugh at the Potter stuff and things like that, but he's got them playing to a system. He's making Shane Duffy look like he's just looking at a completely different player than he was out on loan last season, and they've just got a togetherness. And I don't particularly like Trossard. I think he's one of these players that he turns up when he fancies it, but they have got some way of actually getting a result, and they get a result against. I think they could be the team that could just kick a few bigger teams up the backside this season and just upset just that little bit of thinking of the likes of the West Hams, the Tottenhams, the Evertons of the world, as they've done in the past. I know we said before about how well Villa done last season, and Villa are the opposite this season. They look as if they just look bereft.
Yeah, they do. They've lost but whenever Jack Grealish was out the team, so now they've lost them completely. It was always going to you lose your star player. It's always going to have an impact, no matter how good you are.
I know they were missing players, but it's not just yesterday. That when people look at the middle of that table, I thought Leicester were really disappointing yesterday. I thought they could have taken that game to City, and I really did feel that Leicester would have given City more of a game than they really did, which is possibly.
They make City work for it,
Yeah, they did. They did.
It was actually a good goal from Bernard to get there. But going back to the Brentford game, I know Brentford are looking really difficult, but you've got to give Brighton credit. They look the resilience in them to just keep going and trying and going. It looked like a really good game. I only watched the highlights of it, but it looked like a really good game. There's one that I'm sure the people who went enjoyed it. But yeah, I thought Brighton, they're sticking two fingers up at us here, John. I'm telling you now.
I think they are.
I think I'll have to go back and revisit my predictions and go here. I think Brighton will be right. Watch them go and get a European spot this year now.
I actually feel that if we look at it, the way they finished last season, and they've just set themselves up to be really difficult to break down. They're not playing expansive football. They're just playing to a system, which again, I think we said a couple of weeks ago, is where Brentford are really impressive, that they play to the system, they trust the system. And this is really similar. And Graham Potter, I give him his due because he stuck with it, and he totally believes in what he's sending his players out to do, and he's not chopping and changing. He's not sort of reacting each week. He's actually making that team better, and I think a lot of the bigger clubs would be possibly better looking at what he's trying to do there. He's actually got the inklings of I don't want to curse it in some ways, because they've actually, he's playing Welbeck. Danny Welbeck's getting a game, which is great to see, and I don't know. They're just exciting to watch, and I love seeing it's when you know that a club like Brighton are going to just make some of these big boys really jittery anytime home and away. And I think Potter's just been absolutely spot on, and he's bringing youngsters through as well, and that's good. It's good to see, though, isn't it? It's just like you get a game. I was at the Scarborough game yesterday. I think United on 40 minutes. I think Man United, when their goal went in, of all the 3:00 kickoffs, it was the only game that had a goal in the Premier League. And you're only thinking, oh, the guys on the telly are going to be really struggling. Going to be struggling here today, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. But like Brighton and Brentford, what you got there, you got two managers playing to the strengths of the players. They've got a system that works for the players. And I'm going to bring them up again. This is where Arteta is just getting it wrong.
I was about to say exactly the same.
Not getting
exactly the same.
Thanks to the players. He's not playing the right system. He's playing a system of how he sees football being played, rather than a system that's best suited to the players he's got.
Yeah.
So you got the troubles that Brighton had last season, because we spoke about it on the show, right, all the way through. It was like, Brighton are struggling, they're not getting, how are they going to stay, they're going to survive, and he literally just had a skin of the teeth stage in the league. This season, they've just obviously had a recheck and a rethink of what they're doing. Started playing to the strengths, and they're getting great dividends from it. Brentford as well. They've come up. I watched a few of the games in the Championship, and I was impressed with them, particularly in the playoff final as well. And I thought this team looks really well. I hope they stick to this philosophy of how they're playing, because they play expansive football. Yeah. If they stick to it, they should be all right. They could come unstuck somewhere, but if they just stick to the strength, they should be all right. And I'm glad to see they've come into the Premier League and they've done exactly that. They've stuck to the strengths. You play to your strengths. You don't play to a system that you think is going to get you through. You play to the strengths of your players, and the both teams are doing that.
It was strange because in the Arsenal game as well, and I know we've not mentioned about Norwich, and I've always looked at Norwich and I look at the way Daniel Farke presents his team. He generally doesn't pander to other teams, and I think he got outthought yesterday, because he dropped Ben Gibson where it was on the bench, but Billy Gilmour, who played absolutely amazingly for Scotland, and also Todd Cantwell were all on the bench. And it was as if there was a little bit of sort of psychological warfare going on. They're thinking, well, if I play this player and you play that player, then we'll play him and we'll play that. And in the end, like Arteta I think he made 7 changes to the team that got beat by Man City, which probably was needed, with bringing back Aubameyang and Tierney in particular, and bringing Saka back in. But he also he dropped Smith Rowe. I don't know. I don't think he honestly knows what team to put out. And I'm disappointed in Norwich, because actually I felt if they'd played their best 11 players and just played their proper system rather than second guessing, I think they probably could have given Arsenal a better game than they actually did. And they only got beat. They only got beat by a goal.
Yeah, they'd have probably won. For me, Cantwell at Norwich, he's the first player on the sheet for me.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, the first player on the sheet. Yeah. I know in the first game season against Liverpool, we beat them with ease. But the one player that stuck out for me from Norwich was Cantwell, and you've got
the lad Gilmour. The lad Gilmour that they've got on loan from Chelsea is absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I don't often watch international games, but I watched him playing for Scotland the other night. He ran the show, and him and John McGinn from Villa they're just the epitome of what a Scottish team needs. It's just like 2 players who just have a will to win. You put them in your team every time, So I'll give Daniel Farke his due. Maybe they had an injury, maybe they picked up a knock. Who knows? They're the managers, but I think you got to look at what Brentford and Brighton are doing and actually playing their system. And by the end of the season, Stephen, we'll probably see whether teams have found out how to play against that system.
Yeah. But definitely. As long as you stick to the strengths, for me, if you play to your strengths and you do everything that you can't at the end of it have any regrets, even if you get relegated, because you've done everything you can. You've done everything you can, and you get relegated. But if you take the Arteta route through stuff and try and do stuff that doesn't fit, and you get to the end, you're going to have massive amounts of regrets because you're going, well, that's not our strength. I could have used this player here. I could have used that player better in this position, in that position. That's all them questions will be coming to you. Really strange comments here from Nick. Is this something that Nuno's come out and said, it's not my job to get players to play for Tottenham?
Ooh.
Comment that.
Oh dear.
Right. That's exactly what his job is to get them to play for Tottenham. And
that's I thought that was his only job. It doesn't matter. He's got people. He's paying people to coach them.
Yeah.
He's not. He's the one who's actually getting them to. He's the conductor of the orchestra, isn't he?
Strange comment. That strange comment.
Goodness me.
Text of was it? What of it was? You know, but no, the manager definitely gets the players to play for the team, and it's because it's them who pick the system, it's them who picks the tactics, and it's them who say to the guys going on, players, I need this type of player to fit in this part of the system.
Yeah.
You know, so it's definitely his job. Like, wow. Strange.
I know I've kept you waiting, Stephen. I know you want to talk about Liverpool. I'll just have a quick mention of Chelsea, because Chelsea were, again, just they didn't look as if they're firing all cylinders yesterday. And even Thomas Tuchel came out and said he didn't think they played particularly well, but they won 3-0. But he's just like, and he was to blame. He tinkered with his team as well, which upset me, because I'd also found that one of my fantasy team players was now on the bench instead of starting the game. But hey, he came on and had an assist, so I can't complain. But they look as if they could juggle the team and actually come out with a decent result. The lad Mendy in goal made the most marvellous save at one point, and he's just They made it look quite easy yesterday. I think I'll give Villa the due. They were missing a few, particularly Emi Martinez, and there was Emi Buendia as well, because of the quarantine rules, because they played for Argentina in midweek. And strangely enough, all those who played for Brazil were allowed to play in the Premier League this week. How's that fair? I don't get it. That was the biggest shambles, and I think if anyone hasn't seen it, do get on YouTube, have a look at the Argentina Brazil game from, I think, about 6th of September or something like that, and it was shambolic. It really was.
They waited for them to get on the pitch before they come out and drag them off the pitch to say you should be quarantining. Do you know what I mean? It was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, if question of sport, if it's still going, it is, isn't it? Still going, but that'll be one of them. What happened next? On that, like, what happens next?
Yeah.
It's just one of them real bizarre moments. Because I seen your tweet on Twitter, John, and I had a look at it to see what was going on. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Because it wasn't anything to do with FIFA. It wasn't anything to do with anything like that. It was the government officials from Brazil.
Yeah. And again, you've got to remember the politics involved between Brazil and Argentina as well. And I think that is completely undermining all that went on within that international. And it just seems to me, I'm pretty sure that Brazil will turn up and say, "Oh, we'll claim all the points," blah blah blah. But actually, it shouldn't have got to that. We had players in the UK who'd been forced to stay behind by their clubs rather than playing for Brazil. And yet suddenly at the 11th hour on Friday, they're then cleared to play for their clubs at the weekend. It's not right. And then you had the Argentinian players, of which Villa's goalkeeper, Emi Martinez, is certainly one, and I like him as a goalkeeper. Previously at Arsenal and let go for very little money, I hasten to add, but that's another story from the past that we might come back and revisit. But for Martinez to actually now be forced to quarantine, it just doesn't sit right. It doesn't sit right at all. And we're making football. Football should be something where there's a level playing field, irrespective of all the rules and all these stupid things that people have to go through, even to go on holiday for a few days. You've got to test before you go, test while you're there, test while you come home. These players should be within a bubble, and I think it's
most definitely
not right. It's not right.
A gesture of goodwill.
Oh, don't get me started, man. Don't have FIFA are not high on the Christmas card list at the minute. Just you wait, because I think I know we didn't do a show last week. I'll have a rant about it anyway, because England were playing in somewhere. Was it I can't remember. Was it Hungary? I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't really.
England were playing anyway, and England were subject to the usual abuse when they go away from home, etc.
Was it Poland? Was it Poland?
I don't know, because I didn't pay any attention. If I'm being really honest, I paid no attention because it didn't interest me. But lo and behold, I think whoever scored for England took the shirt off. They had a statement on the front of it saying blah, 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 which is non-offensive, but it mentioned somebody. Yeah, thanks, Nick. It was Hungary. So you got all this chanting from the crowd, loads of abuse getting chucked. So wait and see what they decide will be the reply to that. So you get like 20 grand for the fans shouting abuse because of the colour of your skin. And then the player who took his shirt off and had some form of statement on the front is going to end up getting fined the same amount. Just mark my words. I'm biding my time for when it comes out. But it's the usual rubbish.
Was it a political gesture what the player was doing?
I can't remember. It's one of them ones that you're paying. So when you just see it and said, yeah, he's taking his shirt off. It says something. It's probably something I think it was something to do with somebody he plays with or something.
Right.
And it's just like a really lovely thing to do. But they're that up themselves that they actually have got no idea. They're not in control of the actual full game. And I think it just makes a shambles of it, the way that this international break has, some countries have played like 3 games in the course of the time off for an international break. It's just inhumane. These players have played in the summer. And it's just, I don't get it. I really don't. And I take my hat off to some of the Premier League clubs for just saying, no, you're staying with us. Yeah, and we're staying as secure as a group to make sure that we actually stay safe.
I'll tell you what, out of all the experiences over the international break that the players will have had, none will be more bizarre than all poor Naby Keita, what he had to go through. He had to get airlifted out because there was a political coup by the army while he was there.
It's just like
what's going on?
It's just like
it's like the world's gone nuts. It
is.
Yeah.
Well, go on. I've kept you waiting. For like 48 minutes of the show.
Yeah,
actually, Liverpool look really good state, but I'm going to also say I thought Leeds once again, and I think continuing this thing about teams that are setting themselves up and they don't quite know what the best 11 is. Leeds look half the team they did last season. They looked unable to contain Liverpool today, and I'll take my hat off to Klopp because he'd obviously spotted something.
Definitely. Before I go on to that, though, John, and start waxing lyrical about Liverpool's performance today, if they want a World Cup every 2 years, that's just not going to work because your Euros is every other year as well. You have your World Cup 2 years later, you have your Euros. So how does that work? Is your earphones gone, John? Right, no worries. Right, okay. So while John's sorting that out, I'll just start waxing lyrical about Liverpool because I thought today they were unbelievable. They were really, really good. Best performance of the season up to now. I think we've looked solid We've looked solid in the first 3 games. I thought we should let ourselves down a little bit against Chelsea because I thought we just didn't know how to break them down. We lost. It looked like we'd run out of ideas to get that. But today, unbelievable. What a performance. It was a really good performance. Hopefully, John is going to be joining us again soon.
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you, John. Yeah.
Worst time there. Worst time.
Your battery's gone on your little earpod thing.
I don't think it was. It's just bizarre.
It's disconnected.
Absolutely bizarre. Just
I
reckon you did well there on your own there, mate. I tell you, I give you credit because that's your worst nightmare, that.
I reckon you'd done it on purpose. You just didn't want to hear the school or Liverpool. That's what it was.
About Liverpool.
Well, I've said it all now, John. You don't have to listen to
me. There you go. I'll have to watch the replay now, won't I?
No, I was just saying, Liverpool. That's the best performance, but Liverpool's best performance this season. I thought we looked solid in the first 3 games. You know, without really looking great, if you know what I mean. We just looked solid and well-oiled machine. I think against Chelsea, we probably let ourselves down a little bit because I thought they were there we could have beat them. They were there to be beat there that day. Yeah. We just didn't know how to break them down. We just ran out of ideas, really, on how to break them down, which I thought was a bit disappointing. But today, I thought they'd come back off the international break. Luckily enough, we've just been talking about it. We got Brazilian players, Fabinho and Alisson, and they were good today, the both of them.
They were really good. I think as well, and I think that's one of the things that people forget. The roles of these players they're not the big name goal scorers and all that. But like Alisson as a goalkeeper is just there was a point today where Leeds had a really cracking chance, and you're thinking
5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes. They come out the blocks the sharper Leeds.
You were thinking at the time there was a thing going on in the box, and you were just thinking, if I was playing in goal, I'd be panicking because the ball's pinging about here and there. And Alisson just turns around, he stands his ground, and he just picks the ball up.
Oh, he's cool as cucumber.
Over. And I just thought, that's what you need. You need somebody who's just capable of doing that. And it was so noticeable. Really wasn't his.
The thing is, John, he does that sort of stuff all the time, but he does it. And even now, after watching him for a few years now and understanding that he is there's no waver in him, you know, even when he's got the ball at his feet. And he done it again today, where he's got the ball, he's just like chicked it around the Leeds player and passed it out. And I think, I hate it when he does it because my heart it's going to go on, you know. But they were brilliant today, Liverpool. I thought Leeds again. I think it's the second season-itis, isn't it? With them.
Nice.
I think they'll be all right. I don't think they'll get relegated. I still think mid-table somewhere there or thereabouts. But
I think Bielsa's too good to allow that to happen.
Yeah,
you talked about goalkeepers though as well, and I think a lot of people had looked at Ederson not playing for City this weekend because obviously he wouldn't have been able because of the internationals and stuff and being banned, and then he came in and played for them, and then suddenly City have become a better team when he's in goal. You know, I think there was a rumor going around if Ederson wasn't playing, I think I can't remember. It's the third choice keeper. He's been there for donkeys.
I know you're on about because
his name's at the tip of my tongue. Really is. I'm just trying.
I remember going to the League Cup final, Liverpool v City League Cup final. I bet you it's him that I'm thinking of, and he ended up saving penalties and everything on us.
Yeah,
I know you're on about Baldy fella.
Yeah, but it's just no, he's Caballero's gone.
No, right. So that's why I'm thinking
Scott Carson, that's your man.
Scott Carson, he used to be.
I'm sure he's the lad who's on the bench, and he's just like. He got a medal last season for doing nothing. He must have been papping himself, thinking he was going to be required if Ederson didn't play at Leicester. And I've got to say that probably, I think that saved them. That rule change on Friday night saved them, possibly as a team more than anybody else. Because I feared that City without Ederson would have struggled. It's Scott Carson. He plays number 33. There we go. It took me longer. It took me longer to find it on the internet than it did actually in my own mind, which is reassuring given my age, you know.
Just like to say though, you know, Salah got his 100th goal as well. His 100th goal. 4 people, I think it was 4 or 5 people.
Yeah,
100 goals quicker than them. I think Harry Kane's one of them.
Yeah.
Who else is it? There's a couple there. I can't remember who it was, but no, Harry Kane was definitely one of them. He's got the 100 goals quicker than him. So he got his 100th goal. Mane has finally scored. It's a barn door, and then he finally got a goal today, and that was his 99th goal. So if he'd have not gone through the run he's gone now, just gone through, he'd be on over 100 now himself. You know, in Premier League. So it's really good, but it's a bittersweet victory today. I don't think many Liverpool fans probably celebrated the win as much as they would have done.
Yeah,
hadn't been for young Harvey Elliott and his injury.
Yeah.
No, that's he's it looks like, I've been looking on the internet and that, it looks like he's dislocated his ankle.
Yeah.
So we haven't got a proper prognosis out yet from the club or anything like that, or how long he's going to be out. But I was doing a little bit of looking around of dislocated ankles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what the NHS website says about it is, once the bone's been put back into place, which it will have done, which they will have done on the pitch side today on the game, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to recover so he can use it again. So he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks before he can start training. Then he's going to have to go through physiotherapy. Then he's going to have to get back into training. I thought a couple of months out. You could be looking at 3 to 4 months out here. You know, you could be the other side of Christmas before we see young Harvey again. And it's a shame because he's been absolutely nothing short of brilliant. I thought he was great against Chelsea. And I thought he was really good today. And he was going to get substituted. He was literally...
And that was heartbreaking, wasn't it?
Jordan Henderson was actually got his kit on, and he was Harvey Elliott was going to come off.
Yeah.
So it was just unbelievable that day. So hopefully the lad gets a good recovery in his.
I think as well, and I would say this as well. I you know, as an Evertonian, he looks the proper deal as a midfielder. He looks an absolute prospect and a half. Yeah. I felt really sorry for him. It was one of those ones that I actually don't feel that the Leeds player should have been sent off for the actual challenge, and I think it was what went on afterwards, as regarding sort of reactions of people. You know, not just Mo Salah didn't want to watch it. You know, if anyone gets a chance of going back and see it, it didn't look pretty. But the reactions of players have been told, don't look at this, and it does remind me of the time when, certainly for Everton, when Son did Gomez.
Yeah.
And it becomes more of a thing. It's not totally deliberate. It's not premeditated. No. It happens, and actually we do need to accept that. And I think I didn't feel sorry for the lad. I think you've got to make a decision as a referee. Is it a red? Is it a yellow? I think if he'd given a yellow, he'd be absolutely blasted for it. So he didn't have much choice, and I don't think they brought. Like, once again, which is nice, but it appears they didn't bring VAR into the whole equation. It was the referee's decision, and he stuck with it, which I'm more pleased with. But
I think VAR did get involved, John. But I think it was
red.
Yeah, I think he did ask VAR to get involved. Yeah. I think it's more a case of, can you just confirm that I'm making the right choice here?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't think the challenge itself was a red card challenge.
Yeah.
It's a horrible injury. It's an horrific injury. But
it is.
I remember it's a contact sport.
Yeah.
Okay, so even in illegal contact, things like this can happen.
Can I also add as well one thing, Stephen, that really impressed me, and I think Leeds get bad press an awful lot of the time. And I think some of the Leeds fans were giving Jurgen Klopp absolute what for at the time when the injury happened, and Klopp was being quite sort of loud and quite sort of demanding in what he was. I don't quite, even after the lad had been sent off, I don't quite know what Klopp was complaining about, because actually, unless you wanted somebody to come and shoot the lad, I don't quite know what else you can do apart from show a red card.
Yeah.
But when he was on the stretcher, Harvey Elliott got an amazing reaction from not from the Liverpool, just from the Liverpool fans, but from the Leeds fans as well. And he knew that he was laying there in considerable pain, but he actually was applauding the Leeds fans. as he was getting carried from the park. And do you know, I really applaud that, and I think it shows an awful lot of it shows a lot of people that Leeds fans in particular, they get bad press. But I think today I would have it said that they did give themselves the credit that they did deserve. And I don't know. I just thought it was horrible to watch, and I don't know. Sky on the telly didn't show it, but it's all over YouTube. So if you want to go and have a look on YouTube, loads of people put it on.
You're right. They give him a round of applause. He was leading off, and he's clapping them back. So I thought that was a really good gesture. I think with Leeds fans, I think it's the minority that get them the bad press, John. I don't think it's
same as every club. Same as every club, Steve, you know.
Yeah, so it's like I know an ex-reporter for the Liverpool Echo. He put a tweet on saying, everyone was applauding, but a minority of people were chanting always the victim kind of thing going on, and it's the minority. And for me, I wouldn't even comment on that. You know, if I was in the press, I wouldn't even comment on that, because every time they keep commenting what the minority say, you're giving them press, you're giving them a wider voice than you need to. Just keep them out of it. Concentrate on the good thing, like you just highlighted there, the clapping. And I think that's what you should concentrate on, because that was a good gesture. Yeah. And it just shows, rivals aside, football is just one big community, one big family community, and say, so when one gets hurt, they all get hurt, and no one wants to see an injury like that, what young Harvey's gone through today. Yes, we want the challenges in there. We do want that, because as fans, that's what we love to see. We love a good crunching challenge, I wouldn't even call that a crunching challenge, what had happened today. I wouldn't. We didn't see any replays because Sky wouldn't show it back.
It wasn't crunching. It wasn't even mistimed. He tried to challenge for it, and it was one of them.
It was a fair challenge. I don't think it was a red. I'm with you, John. I think it's down to the fact that of the type of injury that's been done, the reaction of the players, and you can't blame the players for the reaction, because if you see something like that yourself, you'd be shocked. Salah just walked away. He couldn't believe what he was seeing,
But I think as well, he's been in a similar position with injuries himself, and I think this is where this. I've been fortunate enough to watch football an awful lot over the years, and I think players these days are actually being encouraged not to actually watch anything or not go and see anything like this, because it scars you. It scars you mentally. It scars you emotionally. And I think for players themselves, I think they've probably been given some form of training and some form of, in a way, it's kind of self-help, because it is a 50-50 game all of the time. And if you put yourself in that position and you've got any ounce of doubt, you put yourself in more danger. And I think that's, it's sad to say, but that's really the biggest part of it. I think before we finish, Stephen, I'm just gonna go through the fixtures for next weekend, because I'd not looked at these until earlier on, and I was thinking, just thinking of how we can finish the show, and just think, if anyone's watching this and you want to know, want a bit of therapy next Sunday night, it all starts again, right? Friday, we've got a Friday night game this week, and I quite enjoy Friday night. It's good. So
and I reckon that'll be interesting. That John, Newcastle Leeds.
Then we've got Wolves, Brentford, Burnley, Arsenal. I know we mentioned that. Liverpool are hosting Palace. Man City are hosting Southampton. Norwich are playing Watford, which could be interesting, and Villa are hosting Everton. On the Sunday, we've got Brighton at home to Leicester. West Ham are hosting Man United. And the big Super Sunday game.
Oh, Nick, you're going to need to come next week, I think, mate.
Tottenham Hotspur against Chelsea. And I'm thinking, oh my word.
It's at home, no? It's at home.
Yeah. And it is just such a collection of fixtures. And when you start looking at this and thinking, I can't choose any team from there that I could actually put on and say, oh, you're definitely going to win. This just don't know, just fantastic set of fixtures for next weekend. Really is.
So you got Brighton, Leicester as well. That'll be interesting. It's at Brighton. You know, that'll be a good test of Brighton's credentials for this season and the resilience they're going to show.
Yeah.
I think Leicester are just one of them teams that are really, really solid. You know, West Ham, Man United. Could David Luiz do one over on them?
Oh, dear. Nick's on his empty glass Spurs fan with Spurs will get them. So
I'll tell you what, Nick. I'll tell you what. Spurs will have a better chance once Nuno realises that he picks the players to play for Tottenham. You know, he gets them to play. If he can get them to play for Tottenham, unless he starts walking around, you know, your White Hart Lane or your training complex, and starts wondering, well, where's this guy that gets me players to play for Tottenham? Where is he? If he starts looking for him, and there's no mirrors, I think you could be right. You could get well, I think you'll need to come here next week, Nick. I'll tell you what. As soon as he said that, he was done. I'll tell you what. No, honestly, that's a game I'm looking forward to. That's a London derby, Tottenham, Chelsea. They hate each other with a passion. Yeah. You know, Tottenham fans and Chelsea fans, they can't stand each other. So it's going to be really good. And I hope, you know, Tottenham go and do them, go and beat them. I'd really like to see that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so I think next week I'm looking at it, John. I'm thinking, who's will put as my captain in my fantasy league next week? Players do I have on, you know? And it's like, oh.
I think it might just be one of them weeks. Just close your eyes and just hope for the best.
I might have a Liverpool player as a captain, I think, because I fancy us against Crystal Palace, particularly at home with the Anfield crowd behind us as well.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and Mane's finally got his goal, so hopefully he'll start getting a couple of goals. I've got him in my fantasy team. So
there you go. You can but wish.
Anyway, we'll wrap it up there then, John. I think we've covered everything we wanted to cover this week. Right, been brilliant again. We've done it without Charlie. I don't know how we've survived. Next week we'll have Charlie back with us. So please join us next week, next Sunday, this channel, 9 p.m. and we'll be discussing everything about next week's football. Will we need therapy? Will we not need therapy? We'll find out next week. Until then, have a good week. Bye.
See you later.